OBS. I'll figure something out. It's only the second time I've used it to actually stream live. So
yeah, so no worries.
Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm restreaming yours to mine. I think is what I'm doing now. Pretty sure.
Yeah, but you need to make sure you full screen it. So the same way that you have it clicked now, where it's full screened yourself, you need to make sure you full screen the share screen.
Let me see. Wow. Wait a minute.
Hold up. Wait a minute.
Why is this doing that? Sorry, Tareyak.
Yeah, no worries, no worries.
It says I'm live. Yeah, I'm the only one on the screen on my side. Bad.
Yeah. So if you look below like that main window that you have in your StreamYard, you should have an option where you can full screen the share screen.
I do.
Same way that you full screened yourself.
Oh wow. Which one do I share? There's so many.
So it should be my StreamYard that you're sharing.
Yeah, I see him. I'm going through them to make sure I got the right one.
Oh, you have you're like me. You have about basically like 40 tabs of an option and all this kind of stuff.
It's like 2 monitors full of tabs. I think that fixed it. I think.
Perfect. Now, what you want to do is you want to full screen that. So the top, same way you full screened yourself before, you full screened me. If you look below, let me see So see the way below the video, you should like on the smaller screen where you're sharing the screen, top left. You click that button, it should full screen that.
Whoa. I'm all over the place now. I'm looking. You go ahead and talk, Tareyak. I'll figure it. I'll find the right button in a minute. I don't have the full screen.
Sure. You can't full screen the full screen. It is what it is. So if you go into my one, at least if you go into my stream, the tab of my screen, StreamYard, and then you hit see the way in the video you hit the full screen, should be the bottom right corner.
Bottom right. Okay. I think I got it. Yep, it was there. It's kind of hid. I got something going on. There's your stream.
There we go. Perfect. That'll do, right? We have that sorted now. Anyways, right?
Yeah, that's
I've talked. Thanks. I've spoken a lot in terms of just to kind of like focus us back where we are in terms of like the big picture of what we see unfold. We're talking about like the Islamification of Europe, like how crazy the leaders have gone, the rationale behind it with the pensions, and it's just not mathematically possible, especially with the demographics that we have. We convinced basically we convinced all the women to not have kids anymore. The whole antinatalism phenomenon that you're seeing comes from postmodernism, and the root of that is basically atheism and all this kind of shit. And like they'll start saying, oh, it's not morally justified to all of a sudden, bring kids into this. You have the whole environmental thing, the carbon tax and all this kind of shit, which is just an excuse to like deindustrialize and all this kind of shit. So basically Europe's kind of fucked, and you're already seeing it slowly seep in with America as well, where we went over with Hamtramck and how quick it is, like literally within like, 4 or 5 years of them like getting becoming a Muslim majority city, they basically take over the place, and the first thing to go after is the pride flags and all this kind of shit. and they basically use the gays and the LGBT. They basically allied with them and says, "Oh, don't worry, Habibi, we will do pride flags, pride parades, all this kind of shit." And essentially, as soon as they get in, first people they go after is the gays and all this kind of shit. Now, like I kind of mentioned, and I've mentioned this before and all this kind of shit, and a lot of people think that I'm just a whack job and all this kind of stuff. But this is from 9 months ago, maybe a bit longer. It was back when I had a debate, and again, like I said, you know, you look in the corner, it was Flo and all these Ghosty, I think, is there, and like all these lefties. Like I made my fucking a genuine effort to try and talk to these cunts and try to explain to them that, listen, like the history that you were told that the Germans lost the war, that is fiction. That is fiction. You know what I mean? You can just go back through the history and apply a bit of that common sense, a bit of that reasoning. You know what I mean? But do they want to listen to it? No. And I think this phenomenon that you see is that, like, a lot of people are like, they buy into a story so much, and then when they're shown the counter evidence, they just want to look away from it because it's too uncomfortable. I talk about like the uncomfortable truths. It's too uncomfortable for them to actually engage with it. So they rather say, no, I'm just going to believe the lie that I was told. But this is basically a 2-minute rendition of like the actual histories of what went on.
Tareyak, you said something that was kind of weird to me, man. I'm not gonna lie.
I usually
and then you guys both kind of contradicted your statements after this. So I'll get into that after I ask this question. So you said that the United States has been a police state for 70 years. Can you please demonstrate how that?
National.
I just want to be clear. I am not a Nazi.
I think we covered it.
Socialist. So 1945, after the war, Operation Paperclip, they basically the Soviets and America split the scientists. So all the Nazi technology, not just the physicists, but like the behavioral scientists and all this kind of shit. So when you look at like all the shit that went on in America, basically MK Ultra, all the shit, they just continued on the research that they were doing in the concentration camps, and even worse, they done it on kids. And in MK Ultra specifically, it was unwilling, unconsensual testing that like they were giving them like fucking LSD shit and all the stuff. That's why you're seeing the whole radicalized shit that went down in Hollywood, Charlie Manson. Follow on from that, in 1947, after they finished importing in all the I don't know if I can use the word, but Yahtzee scientists and the intellect and all the shit, essentially the National Securities Act gets passed, which, funnily enough, changes the Department of War to the Department of Defense. A nice little propaganda switch there, which should tell you exactly who you're dealing with. And then, like I said, in terms of the National Security Agency, CIA, the whole basically mechanism for the deep, what Alex Jones has highlighted as the deep state, that basically gets formulated in 1947. And since then, you've basically been ruled by a national socialist policy, because even as a modern day national socialist, if I was a Yahtzee, America's the perfect government, because all I have to do is, as soon as it gets down to the two final candidates, I buy them both off. And I have my nationalist policies if I want the Republican in, and I have my socialist policies if I want my Democrat in.
This looks a lot like Nazi shit, and we really should find out where the Horton brothers are.
Okay. That's like a good argument for reducing the size of government accessible to bad actors.
Yes, but Zeus must beat Kronos before you. And this is, again, like this remark of like, oh, we need to, rally the troops and reduce the form of government. They don't understand what I'm saying to them.
No.
What I'm saying there is, people who run the world are people that are really, really in favor of National Socialism. There's a reason why after the war, they sent all the good soldiers that followed what they were doing. I followed the orders. I was just doing my job. You got a vacation down in Argentina. Yeah. And the dudes that were specialized in the rocket technology and the behavioral scientists and all the intellect and all the stuff, you came into America. That's the actual history. And a lot of people say, oh, you don't believe that's not true and all this kind of shit. And yeah, it's not true. I'm just a leprechaun. Don't fucking listen to me, because at this stage, you either fucking listen or, like I said, you have yourself to blame. Now, that's what happened. That's the history. So now the key question then is like, okay, Tareyak, what's going to happen? What's the plan for it to happen? Like I said, I outlined the whole situation where we have, the Islamist problem, we have the retard problem, like this whole kind of like mathematics problem in terms of the pension, all this kind of shit. All of this was done by design, right? And I have a video here by a man called James Conway, right? And again, he's a man after my own heart. He's gone down the same pattern. He's talked to the lefties. He's talked to the gays. And let's see what he has to say.
Hello, everyone. It is Sunday, the 31st of August. And we are about to enter a very, very frightening period. And I says I would do this video to try and, I suppose, not even waking up, because it's too late to waking up now, but to congratulate a certain group on a tremendous victory. And yeah, we'll see where the cards fall. So I'm going to give you a good little video now on what I have come to know, what they might refer to as hidden. So the first thing is, in the 90s, you would have heard a statement, the nerds will inherit the earth. Now, you all thought that was some guy who had his trousers pulled up under his arms and a pair of funny glasses, kind of was pulling out of an inhaler, and he read too many books and all that. Well, that wasn't a nerd. Nerd was N-E-R-D, which is Nazis, eugenicists, racists, and deindustrialists. That's what the anagram stood for.
Now, there's another terminology that was thrown around. The geeks will inherit the earth, and geek stood for globalist, eugenicist, ethnocentrist, and kleptocrat. All right, so it's pretty much the same thing. Different letters, same kind of meaning behind the anagram.
So I'll take you back to World War II. It was before World War II that this was initiated, but that's for me to know and ye to find out. But what ye would be told in school in relation to World War II is that Germany, the Nazi party, lost that war. That is ludicrous. They did not lose the war. Far before the war started and during the war, the greatest minds of the Nazi side were being recruited by the American military to be brought to America after the war. Some of the figureheads who would not have been the intelligentsia, but they were willing to follow the orders, were transported to Argentina during the war. In all essence, the Nazis didn't lose the war. They simply moved. And a lot of them didn't move. A lot of them were based in America all through the war and during the war. And you can look all of that up if you want to. Personally, it doesn't bother me. But Nazism and eugenics go hand in hand. And what has occurred in the past 10 to 20 years especially can only be described two ways, depending on how you look at it. Evil or beautiful.
Now remember, the terminology says it's either evil or beautiful.
Depending on how you look at it. But what it does is it assures a sequence of events where a class of white Western people will continue to lord over society for the future. Mightn't look like that at the moment, but that's the end point. So, religion. There are three main religions now in the Western world. Judaism, which will be the religion of those who run things. Christendom, which will be the religion of those kind of in the middle class. And then Islam, which will be the religion of the kind of useful workers, do what they're told when they're told, cause havoc when necessary. These three religions will come under the one umbrella after the event. Yeah, so Judaism, the premise of Judaism is that they are God's chosen people, that the rest of humanity is a slave class under them, and that they will be at the top and they will accumulate the vast majority of the wealth, and they will have a slave class to provide for them, which is actually pretty bang on what's going on at the moment. Christendom is where you get to heaven by, oh, how would you say it, being a nice guy. You know, do what you're told when you're told, work hard, don't raise too many eyebrows, all the rest of it, and you will get to heaven one day. Islam is a little bit different. Islam is not only can you be a nice guy, but you must act to guarantee your entry to the next realm. You must act in a jihadi fashion. So you can see how they're about to be used. But anyways, you're all probably wondering about this mass migration to Europe. So this is for all the lefties that are watching, because I actually don't hate you. I feel really sorry for you. I think you are entirely the victims of eugenics. So what has happened with this mass migration is there's an introduction of a new race to raise tensions. There'll be a little bit of an aggro between the native population and the newcoming population. But here's the kicker for it. Conscription. So conscription across Europe for the European army will start with the native population. This is to rise tensions. Now, the bit that they're not mentioning, but it's very easily provable. If you have shown any right-wing thinking, you will not be conscripted. They will not conscript you under the guise that they will say it could be troublesome to have someone with a right-wing ideology in the army. The truth of the matter is, this is a cull.
So, remember we're talking about we have this retard problem, we have this Islamist problem and all this kind of shit.
Mhm.
Well, we
Oh, yeah.
also have a war in Ukraine and all these Muslims that like we're going to prosecute and lock up for all these women that they've been raping and all this kind of shit. Well, we're going to deport them. Where are we going to deport them to? Ukraine, throw them on the front lines. Same thing with the retards. Same thing with the lefties who think it's perfectly acceptable to abuse a child and sterilize them and all this kind of shit. On your way to the boat. So any of these young people that are all like liberal and socialist and all this kind of stuff, you'll be fucked off into a plane and you'll be going straight there to fucking Ukraine to go on to the front lines. But if you're one of these far right Nazis, these dangerous people, well, we can't trust you on the front lines because you might defect. If you were someone, let's say, who was crazy enough to say, well, Russia should take over the EU, well, we can't trust you. We can't trust you, Tareyak, because you might defect to Russia. So think back to that debate I had with Rob Noor.
So all of the remaining lefties who have little boys and girls coming around 16 to 18 years of age, your ideology is going to guarantee that your child lands to the front line in the first wave. Second wave will be the undesirable of the new population coming in. So they'll go through that with a fine-tooth comb. They'll see who's actually qualified, who actually is educated, all the rest of it. And anyone that doesn't mean those terms will be given a choice. And the choice that will be given will be join the army, and after so many years of service, you will receive citizenship, which will never happen because of drone warfare and stuff like that. So, yeah, that's the call. Very plain and simple. So that's a little bit of the Nazi, a little bit of the eugenicist. We get into the racism. Racists survive because what they do is they group together in their own people. They're clannish. They keep the assets of that group of people to themselves. They survive. And then the deindustrialists. That is the control group. That is people who step away from society, go back to barter, go back to self-sufficiency, all the rest of it. And they'll be allowed to continue because this more technically advanced society needs a control group where they're like, oh, we have to have humanity behaving as it did historically. So your groups like Amish, Mennonites, your religious zealots that head off into the woods and do the compound and all that, they will be left alone. They'll be allowed to develop. So yeah, the nerds will inherit the earth. The frightening aspect that probably an awful lot of you don't realize is that politicians for the past 10 or 20 years have all had the one ideology, which was Darwinism. We have removed how stupid people are meant to die. We've removed it. Safety rails, insulation, all of these things have allowed stupid people to live and breed. And that's undesirable from the nerds' standpoint. It goes further than that too. They're dead set against homosexuality. They realized a very long time ago that there are a lot of people who have homosexual tendencies, but because society was so kind of religion-based, that they kept these desires underground. There were plenty of gay men who were married with children. There were plenty of lesbian women who were married with children. They kept these desires down. Now, by making society an open place for homosexuals and lesbians to carry on their deeds and all the rest of it, they come out into the open where they can be easily identified, where they can be manipulated by certain groups who sponsor things like perhaps chemicals that could be ingested into the body and used to assure that they would never breed again. This is not an easy thing for me to say. There are winners and losers out of this. There are people who identified it, who had a critical mind, who haven't gone with government policy over the last 10 or 20 years, who haven't built up massive amounts of debt, who have ownership of their assets, who have moved assets away from currencies like the euro, dollar, etc., which are inflating so quickly that they will soon be worthless. They have their assets in things like gold, silver, certain cryptocurrencies, land, real estate, all the rest of it, stuff that will survive this hyperinflationary period. But I am coming to the conclusion that this, although evil,
Yeah.
one could make the argument it wraps everything up in a nice, beautiful bow.
Got one more favor. Don't want to interrupt you. I got my buttons back. Will you click it so I know? I'll put another link over in the Discord.
Yeah. What you do to get the buttons back?
There was another bar on the bottom of the screen there in StreamYard. Everything was grayed out. It was like exit save, that kind of thing. And I
Yeah.
finally got it. They was trying to get me to save something or ignore it, cancel, and it wouldn't let me. It's grayed out, and it finally showed up. The button showed up, if that makes sense. So I
Yeah.
canceled that, and the whole bar came back along the bottom.
Cool beans. So we going back over there?
Yeah, you don't care.
Cool beans.
I just want to make sure. You know what I mean?
So I should be backstage over there now.
There you are.
Beautiful. 1 second, let me. Mama.
Volumes, huh? No.
Beautiful.
Don't do that. Wow. You hear that?
Oh, you're
Hurry
hearing
up.
double. Yeah. Exit out of my StreamYard because you're probably hearing double. Test. Now it should be
All right.
fine.
Okay. Wow.
Beautiful,
Okay.
beautiful.
We figured it out. We fixed it.
And just real quick, trailer thrash music on my end says my brain hurts after that one. It's
Yeah.
Sure, listen. This is what well, like I said, you're gonna have to come to peace with it. The nerds or the geeks, whichever word you want to use, and we're not talking about the guys with the funny glasses and all this kind of shit. They've been running the world. They inherit the world. You have to come to peace with this, because no matter what you might have seen in the movies, or no matter what you might have heard in your history books and all this kind of shit, the one thing that the National Socialists revere is reason. Anybody who wants to run a sophisticated society, they base it on reason. Societies that kowtow to a tyrant don't last. Societies that kowtow to democracy don't last. Democracy is retard supremacy. What you hear from the politicians, democracy is not your greatest strength. Democracy is one step away from tyranny. So you got to make peace with it. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Well, what are your thoughts on the quote unquote final solution, or the video that you seen there? Crazy.
Well, I've been sitting here saying, yeah, and I agree with the dude. He's right. I don't. He said the nerds will take over, and I believe it. I mean, is that bad? No.
Well,
I
here's
mean,
the thing.
What else can you do? What else can you do? What else is going to happen? Really? Because the nerd's going to know have a way out. He's thought it through, or she's thought it through.
Well,
Right?
this is the thing. Like, long before certainly I was born, or anyone in around my age was born, these wheels were already set into motion. You know what I mean? And anyone who was around, towards the end of the war and all this kind of stuff, they're too old to actually try to change anything now. Anyways, you know what I mean? And like I said, at least they're reasonable. You know what I mean? The whole kind of thing of the Jaceberg or hating the Jews and all this kind of shit. It's like, no, they own the place. The Jews are the managers. Christians are the workers, and then the Muslims are basically the bouncers, or the people that just in case you need to cause some chaos or whatever, they're the scapegoat, so to speak. You know what I mean? They do the shit that no one else wants to do, essentially. You know what I mean? And when you look
Yeah.
at the percentages in Israel, 20%, in and around 20%, I think it's like 16% or something like that. No, I think 20% are Arab, and then 16% are Arab Muslims specifically of the total population in Israel. You look at Russia, it's the same thing. And basically, it like that's going to be especially when you look at like Europe now, they're quoting the figures of, I think it's like 50 Muslims, and there's about 350 million Europeans, so it's in around that 15-16% mark. That's the new normal. That's the balance, or the social engineering, to use a scientific term, that they've decided with. And like I said, you can kind of huff and puff and say, no, there must be a better way, and all this kind of shit. Who are
Rather
you
than-
gonna? Who are you gonna?
Rather than letting the nerds do it.
Yeah, but,
No,
but
I think it'll be okay.
it's either going to be the National Socialists running the place, or the Communists, and the Communists want to wipe out all religion. Communists don't.
Yeah, of
The
course.
Communists want tyranny. Communists believe that a man can become a woman, and all this bollocks. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The spread of the disease. That's it.
And like I said,
As far as the the Transformers go.
but this is why I do the whole where is it? This is why I do the whole Loki thing. You know? Like I look like an evil bastard and all this kind of shit, have the whole mystique going, all this kind of stuff, but it's because listen, like when you look back at Norse mythology, like Loki was the one that was the reasonable one. Everyone else was believing their dogma and their delusion, all this kind of shit. And like I said, this is the history. This is the real history, and it might make people uncomfortable, and it might make people like feel a certain way and all this kind of shit. But do you have a better solution?
No.
Who can we turn to?
We can't get Trump over there, can we?
Well, sure.
I'm concerned about it, Tareyak. I really, you brought it to my attention about what's going on and how bad it is, all that other stuff. I mean, it's bad.
But this is the thing
And I
about
got
crazy.
concerned. I had empathy come into me or something. I don't know.
This has been
know what
going
I mean?
on. Like, this has been the plan for decades. All of this was orchestrated.
I believe you.
You know what I mean?
I do.
And like, here's an even more uncomfortable question, because it's crazy talks. We might as well go full crazy. And like I said,
Go for it, man. That's what
I'm a leprechaun. And one sec, I got a comment from Trailer Trash. Like, it's time to become an American, Tareyak. I'm not like I said. Go back to the first NOR-PrEP debate when I had a 4 or 5 hour debate with Rob Noor. What was the prompt? What was I saying should happen? Russia should take over the EU. And if you watch back that video again, what does he say? The far right won't be trusted to go on the front lines. They need people with the right wing mentality because they need to make sure they pass the vote. They stay in charge and all this kind of stuff. I'm not going to be going to the front line.
No.
It'll be the retards, the Islamists, the gays, the trans, all the undesirables.
We talked about that we've talked about it more than once about the front line and who would be there. And that would be the lower IQ Islamist.
Yep.
Or Barter, Cannon Barter, or whatever you want to call it. And then others.
And here's an even more uncomfortable thing to think about. We're led to believe that Donald Trump lost the 2020 election, and it's quite clear that it was rigged, right?
It's just pretty damn clear.
So,
pretty clear.
Are you telling me that the Democrats rigged it? They had power for 4 years, and they weren't able to rig the next election?
Something broke down, didn't it? Our Biden kind of zombied out completely. I don't even know what he did except raise prices. You know what I mean? He did things, but he was a damn zombie. He lost it. Why couldn't he fix that one? I don't know.
But
the next one.
If my crazy conspiracy theory is true, if it was the Nazis that came over, and that not only but they came over through the Operation Paperclip, but decades before that, the rise of the Nazi Party was actually funded large in part by the Americans and the British as well. City of London, look into the City of London if you really want to lose your fucking mind. Look into the City of London and how they operate. You know, like just look at North Africa as an example. How was the likes of France and Britain able to exploit the North African countries? They start a civil war, they fund both sides, those cunts kill each other, and then there's simply not enough people, and whoever actually wins the war and remains in power, they say, just listen, we funded you, we took care of you, now we'll build back up your city, and we'll whatever you want, we'll be able to give you the loan for, and don't worry about paying off the loan. You have some nice natural resources there, we'll take that for payment. You turn a blind eye, and we'll make sure that your family is propped up and all this kind of shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the likes of me,
you become completely dependent and completely owned at that point.
Mm-hmm.
They're gonna give you something. It might be a pack of crackers, in a box to put in or something.
Like you do the calculation on especially on African currencies and all this kind of shit. It's relatively cheap to buy off African politicians, and when you look at the dictator and all this stuff, basically paying him peanuts, and he'll do whatever you fucking want. He'll fucking tap dance for you if you want him. You know what I mean? And in terms of the but like I said, this is like when you talk about like the disclosure. They've been saying about the UFO disclosure and all this kind of stuff. Listen, that's human-built technology. If you think that they stopped at Oppenheimer and they said, "Oh, whoa, this is too powerful. We should stop developing this technology," like those floating orbs in the sky and all that kind of shit. Like that's what they actually have. Like think about like all the consumer products and technology that we have. That all came from war, right?
Yeah.
There's a reason why the Americans like Henry Ford virulent anti-Semite. You know what I mean? The Elders of Zion, he put that book in every single one of his cars. You know what I mean? They were National Socialists. They funded the rise of Hitler and all this stuff. And when Hitler got a bit too egotistical, when his ambition became a bit too much, especially when he went against England, well, he's got to go. We're gonna collect on our investment. We're going to bring over all these scientists and all this intellect and all this kind of stuff. Operation Paperclip will give them new identities and all this stuff. All the loyal soldiers and all this kind of stuff. The fellas that followed what the orders of what needed to be done, the necessary. They get a little sun trip holiday in Argentina. They'll be set up in a nice place and all this kind of shit. And then the rest of the retards and all this kind of shit, you're all going into Russia. We all know what happened in Russia and then all this kind of stuff. You know what I mean? And again, like bad cramps the same time for the Crusades. Listen, you're wasting your time if you think, oh, like there's an enemy here and all this kind of shit. It's propped up. Like this has been going on for like decades, like since like even previous to the World War. This is how they operate. Like anytime it's like if there's oil found in fucking Timbuktu, all of a sudden there'll be a civil war in Timbuktu. City of London will provide the financing for both sides. They'll fucking wipe each other out, and whoever's left will be paid off. They'll be given massive amount of loans, and the collateral for those loans would be the natural resources, and away we go. It's the typical kind of like, you know, British colonialist mindset where it's you know what I mean, you basically exploit the people to gain the resources while they're taking lumps out of each other. You're the one that's profiting off the oil and all this kind of shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's like I said, like that's basically how the world is run. Like I said, I'm telling you the truth, but it's not really the truth. It's all just conspiracy theory. Don't believe a fucking single word out of my mouth. This is all a fugazi. You know what I mean? I'm just a mental cunt. That's why I can't be trusted on the front lines. And like I said, you go back to that video. I'm not afraid of being forced on the front line because, like I said, think back to Rob. I seen this shit. I already have me money, the bulk of my money in the cryptocurrencies and all that kind of shit. Like there's going to be a massive fucking inflation, not inflation, but a collapse in terms of the currencies and all this kind of shit. You know what I mean? Yeah, as well. I did not kill myself, okay? I'm not, I didn't Jeffrey Epstein myself. You know what I mean? This is why I keep telling you. I went out of my way to try and fight the good fight and try to like get these lefties and these like the gays and all this kind of stuff to see the light and see it for what it is. And they was like, I was called a transphobe, I was called a bigot, I was called a Nazi. So once this disclosure happens and we find out what's actually these UFOs are and who's actually been running the world and what actually happened after World War II and all this kind of shit. You know what I mean? I just sit back and I kind of say, work away, PJ. Because you can't talk reason to an unreasonable person. You simply can't do it. You know?
Are you being sarcastic about the UFO thing, or?
No, that's like military grade technology. That's the capability you have. Like, remember Venezuela?
Yeah.
Remember the videos that the White House put out of Venezuela? Was there not something off about that whole situation?
The whole damn situation was off, yeah.
One sec, can I pull up the video?
I don't have the video, but radio. It was strange. Even the amount of time, I mean, it's like, hello, you know.
Yeah,
happens
so
fast.
One sec. Shit. Let me go back to this. I'm going to share the screen on your end. If you can just pull it up.
All right. Okay. Here's what I might be messing up. So there it is. I'll see it.
All right. Now,
Got it. The buttons are working now, so you know.
my man. Now, when you look at this thing, like, never mind the things going off there, right? But if you look at this whole town, not a single fucking light switch is turned on. Not a single light. What, as a military man, crazy, what would you describe that as?
It's a dead target. Nothing's happening there.
Yeah, but
what I'm saying is fake.
No. That's real shit. That's the real sauce, right?
Is it?
Now, bear in mind, Venezuela, like the whole like drug cartel and all this kind of shenanigans that goes on. Like, money's no object to the likes of the Pablo Escobars and Maduros and all this kind of stuff, right?
They have all the money they want.
And they have defenses. They're going to make sure that they buy their technology of China and their rockets off the Russians and all this kind of stuff. But not a single missile went off. They had no clue it was coming. So how was America able to disable all that shit? And not a single light in the whole fucking village.
What is it? The orb of... I see what you're saying. There's an orb of something that shows up every time here lately we go to war or anything or we're having a conflict. It just kind of shows up. I haven't seen it, but they say it's a huge silver ball that don't do anything. It just kind of hangs, parks, whatever.
Yep.
Hovers.
And
shit happens.
It disables all electronics.
Yeah.
It's basically an EMP. They hit it with an EMP and then they go in. Same thing in Iran.
Yep. That's what they did right here. If that's the real picture or real video.
Yep.
There ain't nothing. That's why I said it was a dead target. Yeah. I'm with you. I would like to see that silver ball thing, whatever it is.
But this
they say it's huge. Don't make any noise. It just kind of hovers and then it's gone.
And that's and again, like this is going to be the narrative will be something like, oh, we've discovered aliens, or the prophets are back from the Lord. Whatever story they go with, what they think is going to be the most believable. That'll be it. And you'll see me, like I'll be going to liturgy. I'll be saying, oh my God, I can't believe the prophets are back. Oh, the angels are back. Like I'll be joining in all this kind of shit. Do you know what I mean? But like I said, if you see me posting swastikas and all this kind of shit, just know like this is basically the truth. I'm trying to tell you the truth now. This is why I went on cam and all this kind of shit. To warn you is basically just follow along with it. It's like Santa Claus. When you were a kid and the younger ones still believed and all this kind of shit, you go along with it. Yeah. The angels are back and all this kind of shit.
Wait another year or something. Yeah. As far as Santa Claus goes. Yeah.
I mean, we're in a play.
So you don't ruin it.
Exactly. We're in a play. Play along. You know what I mean? Because like I said, if you don't go with this, the other option is men can become women. Do you know what I mean? We're going to import in, and we're going to be singing Kumbaya with the Islamists and all this and this great and all this kind of shit. It's either that, you either follow the retards or you follow the reasonable people. Not at this stage. I'm done trying to convince the retards. I'm done trying to reason with retards. I'm following with the reasonable people, because at the end of the day,
be the best choice.
Hey, go ahead.
Wouldn't that be the best choice?
Just look what's on the fucking screen.
Reasonable.
How are you supposed to fight back against that when like all of a sudden everything just goes pitch black and things just start blowing up?
Yeah, you won't. Pretty impossible.
Like, bear in mind, Venezuela had Chinese technology and Russian rockets, and not a single fucking rocket was fired by Venezuela. And the White House put this video out, crazy, as a message to Russia and China. Don't even fucking think about it.
Yeah. Fuck around, find out.
Exactly. And that's why, like, when everybody's saying, America's losing the Iranian war, they fuck? 6,000 of those cunts got blown up in the space of a week. And it was, I think, at max, like 13, 15 thing. That's a KDR 400 to 1. So anybody who's played Call of Duty or Battlefront or whatever the fuck the war games are now, imagine you're in a team deathmatch. And your team is killing the other team at a rate of 400 to 1. You think you'd be able to capture the flag?
No. Would you? Would you be able to?
Like, you're basically spawn camping them. You're spawn camping them. They don't have a fucking hope.
No. No, not even a twinkle of hope.
And like I said, it's going to look... There's going to be a lot of shit that, like, especially with Europe. Like I said, with Europe, like some places are going to be flattened. Like Dresden bomb and all that kind of shit. Like we see, like the same kind of scenario as World War II. Just try to avoid it as much as you can. All that kind of shit. And like I said, like for me, I've got a decent amount tucked away in XRP because again, that was the American company. It was like that makes most sense to me. the currencies are there's gonna be like a recession and all this kind of shit. Just try to like now is probably the best time if you can. Like this is literally the final fucking calling for like any if you want any chance to try and fight back against recession. But like I said, the Americans use our fucking Gucci. Use our Gucci. Use are the big dog. You don't have to worry about too much. And again, like I said, with the whole like shenanigans that goes on in certain cities and all this kind of shit, that'll all be dealt with. Minnesota was just an experiment and all this kind of stuff. Do you know what I mean? But Europe is, in terms of like Europe for what it was or what it projected itself to be, all that's over. Like England's more so like a tourist. It's like going to the Shire in New Zealand. That's basically what like the likes of England and all that kind of shit. And there's the whole I have a video on that as well. If you want to kind of like break that down, basically explaining in terms of like Trump and all this kind of thing. But like that's why I kind of say to people, and like I said, you get half the story from one person, you get the other half from the other, and you piece it together and you see the full picture. And there's a lot of people who say, no, Trump would never be in on this, and Trump's actually here to, you know, like save the thingamabob, and he's going to be a capitalist. Nah, he's in terms of, like I said, if you're in a rigged system, and all of a sudden, you know what I mean, they've turned around and they're like just try to think this through as a critical thinker, right? It's rigged to the point where Donald Trump gets kicked out of the office, and it's a rigged election and all this kind of shit, right? The next election, you're going to make sure that this dude does not get back in, right?
Should be able to, yeah.
But
you should try, or you would try, yeah.
But somehow Trump gets in no bother, and the Democrats decide to run Kamala Harris. That's the best cunt that they could put forward. Come on now. Come on now, crazy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but they didn't make no sense to me at all, Tareyak. Nothing they did.
So this is why
what
it's
are
like.
You thinking? What are you thinking that the reason they couldn't stop him?
Because Trump's in, like, they're like the whole thing of this is the beautiful thing as well. Like, you know, the Islamic regime was in for 47 years, and this shit went down where it's like, yeah, we're changing this now with the 47th president of the United States of America. And isn't that such a coincidence? Crazy. You know what I mean? Isn't it so beautiful that it lines up perfectly? You know, 47th year, 47th president.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I've heard that before. Yeah.
And this is the thing, like in terms of like the social capital, like England's been holding off. If you look into the gang rape statistics, all right, you'll see a common counter to my arguments of like the gang rape and the grooming scandal in England would be 84% or 82% of convicted gang rapists are white. All right. But when you look into it, 66% of the cases are they don't disclose the ethnicity. You know what I mean?
Ain't that something?
So that's going to be revealed.
We know what that would be. We know the answer.
There's only one reason why the police would be holding back that data for the right time. Shit, you know, because of the ineptitude, because of the people in charge, they held this back. They're the ones that are actually to blame. It's all plausible deniability. Like the favorite catchphrase of the CIA is plausible deniability.
Plausible deniability, yeah.
So you know how incompetent Keir Starmer was. You know how incompetent these socialists were, these left wingers were, and now we go back to right wing. We make Christianity great again, etc., etc. And you have all the social capital now, where no one's going to feel any sympathy towards the immigrants. They're all a bunch of gang rapists anyway, and they'll all be ported to Ukraine to go on the front line. And then again, Putin has his whole thing of like, yep, we'll send the drones in, we'll get rid of the undesirables, and Putin will be a hero to the Russians. The EU will have, oh my God, we held off Russia, and we've we've done our thing, and there'll be all like a diplomacy thing in the end, and there'll be this huge death toll, and it'll be like, oh my god, isn't it so sad, and all this kind of shit. When all along it was basically just culling the retards and the Islamists and all this kind of shit.
As planned.
And like I
As
said, you might call it evil, but you could also call it beautiful. And like I said, I'm trying to give you a head start in this, so you have some time to digest it, get used to it, come to peace with it, whatever terminology you want to use. But it's either we recognize the like who's been in charge and all this kind of shit, or we go along the lines of, no, we're going to try and fight back against what? Because as soon as you try to do anything, the lights get turned off, and all of a sudden, boom, boom, boom. No fighting back against that. And like I said, the people that are in charge, they're reasonable, they're logical, and they're practical.
You're 100% right about the EMP thing, or it's more than that. And
No, I'm
other
not
part.
right about anything crazy. This is all conspirity theory. I did not Epstein myself. This is all lies. I've currently been lying to you all.
Well, damn it, Tareyak. Yeah, I don't think you're lying. I think you studied it well, and you're putting it together. And when you do that, it's kind of scary. It's kind of odd, don't you think?
Well,
What you're finding is pretty damn scary.
like this is the
About the
thing.
way things-
This is the thing in terms when the first question is like your worldview and all this kind of stuff. We got
Yeah.
into like philosophy, like what is a philosopher and all this kind of stuff.
Mhm.
You have to be able to put everything together. You have to be able to explain every single piece of the puzzle, you know? And it's the same
You
way,
gotta
like,
take the words, the numbers, the letters, and tear them apart and look at them. And where do they go? Where does it lead? If that's the
Do you know what I mean?
answer, the answer. Yeah.
and it's one of those things where, like, probably my favorite fictional character is probably Sherlock Holmes. I love Sherlock Holmes. Anytime like a new Sherlock Holmes comes out, I always make sure I watch it, because typically that's kind of like the show where they kind of like talk about they kind of show you, but in a fictional way, this, like, hypothetically speaking, this is how it would have turned out and all this kind of thing.
Mhm.
But like Sherlock Holmes is that character where it's like reason is like the highest virtue. It's like it's all reason. You're able to reason out everything, and that's how he's able to catch the killer, or he's able to catch the villain at the end of the day. And sure, fuck it. Like, even when you look back at like the movie, there's a movie by Quentin Tarantino called Inglourious Bastards.
Oh
Right.
yeah. Yeah.
And everybody thinks, oh, that's just another World War II movie and all this kind of shit. And it's like, no, when you look at what's actually being said in that movie, right? A lot of people get Hans Landa, the Nazi villain in the movie. He's literally just like a German equivalent of, like, you know, Sherlock Holmes or Columbo or whatever. Like he's basically like that kind of like version of it. Like, and there's that kind of like conversation they have towards the end of the movie where Hans Landa and then Lieutenant Aldo Rain, and then the dude beside him is a Jew as well. It's a beautiful thing, right? Where it's basically the two of them, and basically there's a bit of kind of like dialogue back and forth where Hans Landa is basically saying, it's like, I'm not a Jew hunter. Like, I'm called a Jew hunter, but I just found particular people that were against the National Socialist regime, that were enemies to the state. I just found them. I'm a good detective. So they hired me, and I found these people for them. You know what I mean? Because they were enemies of the state. They were anarchists. That's what the National Socialists were fighting back against. The anarchists, the communists, crazy people that think that men can become women and all this kind of shit. Once you juxtapose like that onto like who the the Nazis were actually fighting against. They're fucking look into like the USSR and what they done to the Christians. They tried to wipe out religion in USSR. And then they realized they can't actually wipe it out. So then they sent the KGB in to try and infiltrate the churches and try to subvert it that way. And that didn't even work. You know what I mean? It's the same story essentially. You know what I mean? And like I said, that whole kind of like arrangement or deal is basically Quentin Tarantino telling you the exact same thing. That this whole thing of like after the war, where it just so happened that Operation Paperclip and they took in all this intelligentsia and all this kind of stuff, all that stuff was planned. That was just basically return on investment. You know what I mean? And like I said, the whole kind of like disclosure, when you hear about UFO disclosure, like what they're actually saying is like we need to explain why you see these floating silver orbs. It's like undeniable at this stage because the camera tech is so good nowadays and everything gets shared so quickly and all this kind of shit. We're eventually going to have to disclose this shit. But if we're to disclose that we're like National Socialists, everyone's going to think that we're a bunch of Jew haters when really we're the owners, the Jews are the managers, the Christians are the workers, and then the Islamists are the muscle.
Oh, that's a good lineup, sorry. That's a good way to, it sums up pretty good.
And like I said, like this is why people say like, oh, Tareyak, like I'm worried about you and all this kind of shit. And it's like, the way I see it, like I'm gonna play the gobshite, I'm gonna play the villain and all this kind of shit. Where it's like, nah, man, I'm far right. I'm like, putting swastikas. Like if you see me putting swastikas on my fucking like X and all this kind of shit, you just know that I'm I'm basically doing it so I can avoid going to the front line. You know what I mean? But like I said, think back to the Rob Noor debate. Like, what was my prompt? Rush should take over the EU.
Yeah.
Can't trust the fucker that thinks that the Rush should take over the EU. Can't put him on the front lines. He'll defect.
Yeah. Right away. It'll be right away, right? They would defect right away. I know Rob got a little bent out of shape.
Well,
I think.
But like I said, like that's why like I understand why people think I'm an atheist. I understand why people think that like I'm a hidden enemy or whatever the fuck. It's like nah, like I'm here to basically just, like try to like help with this kind of disclosure thing because disclosure is coming. Like all this is going to be revealed to you anyways. I want to give you guys a head start so he's kind of like have time to digest it, get comfortable with it, and come to the realization that you either support the reasonable people or you support the retards. And if you support the retards, you're going to like end up in a goofy shit where the economy doesn't make sense. Everybody's like just look at like the communist and socialist regimes in South America. You want to turn your country into a shithole? Follow the retards. You want to follow? Do you want an actual working economy? And like I said, as an American, like America's not going to get deindustrialized. Europe's going to get deindustrialized. Africa's already deindustrialized. They're working on China. But if you want to get into the China shit crazy as well, we can talk a little bit about that. Holy shit. Like that whole jabby jab thing. Well, first of all, the population of China. If anyone believes that the population of China is 1.5 billion, I've got a bridge in Brooklyn to sell you. I can fucking tell you that. You know what I mean? Because, again, it's simple mathematics. China, under a one-child policy, somehow managed to outbreed Indians.
Yeah, that ain't gonna happen.
And those fuckers multiply like fucking rabbits. Okay? So
India?
Yep. When you look at the population of India and what it was back when China first introduced the one-child policy versus the population of China. China outpopulated India under a one-child policy when there was no one-child policy in India. How does that mathematically make sense?
No.
It's impossible. It's literally mathematically impossible. Right? So the population of China is maybe 500 million at best. And then you look at the whole jabby jab. Why the fuck did we do the jabby jab?
I always think of it as to clear out some people, selected people, specific people.
Yeah.
That would have been, that would have been the older people.
Where did it start out though?
In China, I believe.
Huh. Kung flu,
Yeah.
Chinese virus, as they call it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, there was rumors coming out of China that basically 100 million Chinese people died because of that. And when you look at the mRNA technology, it can target certain people. That's what the whole technology is about. That we can release this weapon essentially, and it'll only infect certain types of people.
Yeah.
China was getting bit.
Whoever they selected, that's what it was going to do affect.
Exactly.
And I probably should have been one of them.
But no, the main enemy was China. China was getting a bit too big for its britches.
Yeah.
China thought that, oh, we're going to be the next superpower and all this kind of shit. And Fauci says, "Are you as fuck?" So again, Fauci was Trump's guy. Trump was the guy that came in, and it was under Trump. Right at the end of his term, Trump takes a 4-year break, gets the fuck out of office for that fiasco, and then comes back in just in time, 47 years on schedule, and we're going to free the Iranian people.
47.
Mm-hmm. And like I said, we're now hearing rumors that because of population decline and demographics, China is going to lose 100 million people in the next 10 years. Ain't that quinkydink? So like back in 2020 when they're saying, 100 million people have been wiped out because of this flu. Now, 10 years later, they're going to lose 100 million people.
Yeah, right. 100 million. 100 million.
Just to get into that one. A lot of people.
I was all over that when it first started. I was like, whoa, wait a minute. There's something wrong with this picture. It's not getting everybody. Right? So that means it's got to be selecting its targets. It had to be. No other explanation for that. Is it going to get everybody, or it got certain people? It gets certain people, man. It can get any part of the society. If it can just go for the old, it can go for the young. Just the same, it can go for male or female, depending on how it's set up. Yeah, yeah. That was an evil thing.
100%. I have another video there just to explain like the to go through the numbers. If you can pull that up.
Yep. Give me 2 minutes, Tareyak. I gotta go kidneys.
Yeah, no worries.
Go weed. Yeah.
I'll catch up with the chat as well. Because like I said, there's a lot of people that were like, "Oh shit." Yeah. I mean, Tareyak, what the fuck you talking about? It's like, if you just want to talk about the truth, boys, we can talk about the truth. Because like I said,
wired out. I'll be right back.
Yeah, no worries. We got Bad Cramps Graham saying their actual population is half what it is reported. I was watching a Chinese guy do a documentary on it. It got ramped up 20x when COVID happened. Well, like, this is the thing. Like, they basically like were artificially inflating their numbers, and a lot of that was because the way like their whole kind of like government funding works, that is like if you're the mayor of a city, you're incentivized to overinflate your population numbers because the more mouths you have to feed, the more budgeting you get and all this kind of shit. And like there's a whole thing in China now where it's like there's basically these ghost towns where these massive like skyscrapers and apartment buildings and all this kind of shit, and there's literally nobody living in them. They're ghost towns. Because it's all like, it's like the same thing with like North Korea. It's like, look at the movie The Interview, where he goes into the food mart and it was literally just like a poster thing, and it was all just fake and all this kind of shit. It's all like propped up shit to just give the illusion that we're doing well and all this kind of shit, just to quote unquote fool the international community, you know. But China at best before the jabby jab was 500 million, maybe, because again you compare it to India where they fucking hump like rabbits versus China under a one-child policy. Apparently China outproduced them. It makes no sense. And then on top of that, they were getting a bit too big for their bridges. They were like saying, oh, well, we got higher population than you and all this kind of shit. That's when Fauci comes in and says, gentlemen, I have some technology here that may be able to provide a solution to these pesky, enemies of ours and all this kind of shit. And that's why they set that shit off. They shut down the West. And that's why we were doing bullshit things like 6 meter distancing and, wearing nappies on our face and all this kind of shit, because we had to play along. We had to, yep. And again, like I said, there was even the undesirables in the West and all this kind of shit, the FOMO with the old folks home and all this kind of shit. And the one thing I will say to you is, look out for your elders, because they're not going to be able to, they're not going to be able to pay the pensions. So they're a subgroup of the population that they're looking to have dealt with, because they're like, we're not going to be able to pay the pensions and we don't want any trouble and all this kind of shit. So if I was an elderly person, I'd be kind of saying, you know what? I actually don't need my pension. Don't worry about me, boys. You know what I mean? Tareyak, Brian Shapiro on Raging Tomato right now. You should jump on the panel for some good content. Nah, man, fuck that shit. Why the fuck would I want to be giving her any fucking content? You know what I mean? Fuck that shit. I'm done with Sarah, Dusty, fucking all them cunts. Like I was showing you in the first video, when I was trying to explain the whole, like, this is the actual history. If you go back and you track the timeline in 1945, Operation Paperclip and all this kind of shit, and they were like saying, oh, Tareyak, you retard. And I'm like, I tried. It's all recorded. It's all there. I done my duty. I tried to show them the truth. And they were like, nah, you're crazy. So, again, I'm just a fucking crazy leprechaun. All of this was lies. This is all a fugazi. You know what I mean? It's up to you if you want to listen or not. But again, like I said, I'm basically, this is going to be my reaction when they're like, Tareyak, they're putting Muslims and the lefties on trains and sending them to Ukraine. Are they? Oh, Jesus. That's unfortunate, isn't it? Well, I guess you don't trust me to go at front line. No, you're far right. You were there arguing that Russia should take over the EU. We can't trust you to go to the front lines. You're far right. Ah, isn't that a coincidence? That's going to be my reaction. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, when you talk about, like, do they deserve it? You can't reason with an unreasonable person. It might be evil, but you could make the argument it's a fucking beautiful solution. It disgusts me to see how the elders are treated anymore. Well, that's what I was saying. You got to look after your elderly, because that's where your wisdom's at. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And like I said, they massively fucked up with the pensions and the demographics and all this kind of shit. So that's one thing you should be keeping an eye out for, is your elderly. At this stage, that's the best piece of advice I could tell you is look out for your elderly. You know what I mean? Because there's a solution for the immigration, there's a solution for the retards, but in terms of the elderly, you know what I mean?
Well, if you look at China, where it came from, this particular thing, they're overrun with seniors, right? Need somebody to take care of them, and they had no children. The population, like you said, the population's going down fast, or did.
As bad as it is in the West,
Policy, man,
that completely fucked them. But
oh yeah, it did.
I think
in many different ways. Yeah,
I think that was, again, like it was kind of like the mind virus that Elon Musk talks about. That was kind of one of the things with the postmodernists, kind of like, and I think that was kind of like intentionally kind of pushed mainly in China with their leaderships. Like I said, you fund the right people, You get them in those positions of power, and you say, listen, this would be best off for your country. We have all this research here saying that one child policy is the way to go. Convince them to do that. Boom. And then, like I said, you have the L jabby jab, and because look, this is probably the best video to explain China for people.
For this lady. Oh, it's off Danny's show.
Wait, Crazy, can you hear it?
Yeah.
Okay, Crazy can hear it, guys, but you guys can't because I'm sharing Crazy screen and all this kind of shit. One sec. Let me redo it.
The last one worked fine, didn't it? Or we didn't. Never mind.
Yeah, no, what I'm going to do is I'm going to share the window. And I think people will be able to hear it on my end then. So if I share this and then I go to this, people on my side should be able to hear this. Can you guys hear that now?
They're saying no.
Oh shit! One sec.
Why is that?
Oh wait, no. Now I know what I need to do. I need to share. Yeah, it has volume on your side, but it doesn't have volume on my side. So if I go, I share this, and then I share tab with this. So if you bring that up on your side.
Okay. Well, give me StreamYard. Yeah. You ready? You ready? Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
So
it's not muted on my end here.
At
It's
one
not.
point, I projected under 400.
Can you guys hear it now? Let me know in chat. Yeah, okay, they can hear it on my side now.
I'm gonna pull that. I'm gonna put you back on this screen so I can kind of see too. I'm learning to tell you.
So
I'm not a streamer, but
we'll get you there.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
So, here we go.
You are ready for the number?
Yes.
At one point, I projected under 400 million.
What?
500 million. Under 500 million.
Under 500 million.
Mm-hmm.
So you think that they have a very similar population to the United States and China?
Yes. Wow. There's 1 billion people missing.
And this goes back to what we were saying in the beginning or earlier in the podcast with all of the fake IDs and all of this stuff being found out.
Yeah, there's possibly 1 billion people missing. It's not a demographic question, Danny. It's a mathematical question. Let me ask you. It takes a couple to have 2 children to replace themselves, right? Think about it.
Yes, 2 children.
If every couple produces 2 children,
the population is stinks level.
Right. So, do you know how many children does every woman needs to have in her lifetime in order to triple its population in 50 years?
To triple its population in 50 years, you need to have what? Let me guess. I'm terrible at math.
I'll give you the answer because I asked AI. It's a crazy mathematical. If a country needs to triple or grow its population by 2.5 times, let's just say 2.5 times.
Okay.
over a span of 50 years.
5
Each-
kids.
Each woman, you're right, each woman needs to give birth on average between 4.5 to 5.5 children.
Wow.
Yeah, that won't happen.
Okay.
Okay.
Now, China grew its population officially from 1950, that's when the CCP took over to control. Okay, China's population in 1950 was about 500 million. In the year 2000, 50 years later, China's population was about 1.27 billion. Okay, so it grew 2.5 times, right? From 500 million to 1.27 billion. That's 2.5 times over 50 years. Chinese women did not have, on average, have 5 children because of the one-child policy.
Yes.
Because of the Great Famine. Because of the Great Famine, tens of million people died. Because of Cultural Revolution. So China, from one political movement to another, and then to almost 4 decades of single-child policy, there's no way Chinese women had 5 kids.
There's no way. It's mathematically impossible
Yeah.
for them to have that much children, or for their population to increase that much. And then you now add on the jabby jab. Make sure that they never overpopulate America.
It has a target. It had a target over there too, especially over there.
This is why reason is such an important thing. If you're able to reason, if you're able to critically think, apply a bit of logic and practicality to the situation, now all of a sudden it makes sense why we're, overreacting about, what was the equivalent of like a cold or a flu for us. If you were a Chinese person, that shit was lethal.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Why are we overreacting about the trans thing? Because if you want to sterilize a bunch of homosexuals, it's best to get them young and gaslight them into sterilizing themselves. And you charge them thousands and thousands they pay you. Think about how next level that whole trans thing is. That the person
evil.
that's actually just a gay person, they're just left to their own devices. They'll be thinking, you gaslight them when they're young and get them to pay you to inject chemicals into them that end up sterilizing them.
Yeah. And make them lose functions of their body parts and all. Just crazy. It's crazy. Or they'll take them off, whatever. Yeah.
Now, on the flip side to it, if the gays, but this is where I kind of give the counter perspective, right? Like, what was the whole kind of like Marxist philosophy? What was like their whole thing that they, like the whole BLM? What was like one of their mission statements? To destroy the nuclear family.
Yeah,
So it was.
Why would they want to do that?
If it's in a situation of us or them, heterosexuals or homosexuals, and they're saying they want to wipe out the nuclear family, that you're a Nazi, you're a bigot because you support a nuclear family structure, that you want the nuclear family promoted. You're a bigot.
Absolutely. Just being a white male, that was enough. Or is enough. It ain't went nowhere, that Tareyak. He's still here. What we're talking about, it's still here.
Oh no, for now. But the train is rolling.
It's pulling out, yeah. Headed to somewhere where maybe it derails and don't come back. I don't know.
But this is the thing. Like a lot of people would say, like, oh, it's evil and all this kind of shit. Because there wasn't a like, it's the same thing with like the Islamists, where it's like there's a lot of taqiyya and all this kind of shit, right? So how can you prove that they're lying? Well, they'll say one thing, you let them in, you let them misbehave and do all this fucked up shit to the women and all this fucked up shit to the society. Same thing with the BLM, that was headed by lesbians. This is what they think. This is what they want. They want to get rid of the nuclear family. They want to, with the Islamists, they want to rape your children. They have a disdain for white people. So now it's without question, this is what they wanted to do. So this whole thing of like, oh, how could you send them off and do all this fucked up shit? And because they were going to wipe you out. So
yeah, you want to survive. Yeah, that's what you'll do. You do something. Right. Kind of have to.
Back to the video I showed you. While one perspective will call it evil, another perspective, if you apply reason to it, it's actually a beautiful situation. Because it's the same thing with likes of Venezuela. It's the same thing with the likes of Iran. Without, like, do you want to spend hundreds of thousands of lives, like, fighting a kinetic war or a traditional war and all this kind of shit?
No. I think those days are literally gone. We have our men out there on the battlefield doing that. It's just not. I don't think it's going to be done that way anymore.
No, like, just look at Ukraine. Any footage you see of Ukraine it's basically like footage from a drone, and it's basically some cunt that's getting his limbs blown off and all this kind of shit from this like thing that just comes down from the sky and just blows him up.
If they're standing there willing to fight. Ukraine's it's sad that Russia, just the size difference. You know what I mean? The technology, but it is what it is.
But this is why I say, like I said, it's one of those things where it's like, once you put it into perspective and you see like the actual mentality of like these certain people, you know what I mean? And what they would do if you gave them the keys to the house, if you gave them actual full power. It's like this whole thing that I talk about with like the illusion of power. You want to give them the illusion of power and see how they act. Give them the power and you see, okay, these people are actually monsters. So
the
taking
ones
them
we're talking
out is
about.
actually justified. You know what I mean? It's the same thing with self-defense.
It is self-defense. The situation you're in right now, or your country, yeah, it's 100% self-defense. There's
you good?
No other reason for what they're doing, right? I mean, it needs to be fixed. If it happens here, oh man, Tareyak, I believe we'll be all right too.
Yeah, no, the demographics are on America's side. Like, America doesn't need to worry. And like I said, like there was a bunch of protests that went on in Ireland there about a month ago. I think they kicked off and all this kind of thing. And basically, a lot of women, children, men, farmers, construction workers, contractors for the business, like people who go out and put silage on the farm and all this kind of stuff. Anybody with a truck and all this kind of stuff, like they all kind of went out and they done the good fight, they done the protest, all this kind of shit. And basically, like, our government's first response was, we're gonna send out the military, and they didn't even need to put the military in. They just sent out the guards, and the guards done their basically army tactics, where it's like I could show you the footage where it's like they'd line up. And there'd be the head guy behind them saying, right, charge! And then they'd charge in with their all riot gear and all the stuff, and they'd break up the protests and said, right, get out the fuck and all this kind of shit. What would be the word? The mechanisms are there to deport and all this kind of shit. So when the time comes, it'll be the lefties, the trans, the homosexuals, the retards, the Islamists, they'll all be, yep, these are going to Ukraine.
Shit.
And they'll be blown up with drones in Ukraine. And then there'll be some, whatever way it'll end, Putin will have his victory story, the Europeans will have their victory story, and it'll be a beautiful solution to all the problems that we have.
Yeah. You'll see everything will be just fine at that point, right?
Pretty much. Like, the the economy will obviously go into recession. There'll be right-wing governments across the board in Europe. You'll have sensible policy. It'll be tough initially, but you know it'll become Christianity will be made great again. People will be back going to church, and you'll be back into a high trust society. And like I said, like there'll be people who'll try to try and go back and say, "Oh my God, this is terrible," and how could you justify this and all this kind of shit. Lads, look at what they were saying. Look at BLM's charter, their founding charter. Our goal is to wipe out the nuclear family.
Yeah.
You want to live in a society without nuclear families? Do you want to live in a society where they're calling pedophiles minor attracted people?
Yeah, minor. I forgot that one. Minor attracted people. It's there's no. There's nothing they wouldn't do. I don't think.
This is what happens. Like when you have this philosophy of we must constantly push the edge, we must constantly push through to the limit. This is why you need to have. This is why they have like the right and left dynamic. They always say it's like, oh, it's two wings of the same bird. Like a lot of people look at that as a negative thing, but that is the perfect situation. From thousands and thousands of years of politics, they've eventually found a working system. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where you have that like free spiritedness to try new things and to be creative and all this kind of stuff, but you also have the conservative wing that like says, we're going too far now. We need to consolidate now and become more efficient. Like Twitter's a good example. Expanded, kept hiring out more people, and then Elon Musk comes along. 80%, you're gone. Good luck.
Yeah.
20% of the workforce, and they're more productive than they ever were. Thinking about the amount of features that were added to Twitter when Musk came along. Just Grok alone.
Grok, yeah.
And this is why I say to people, there's uncomfortable truths out there, and oftentimes you're only told half the story, and then all of a sudden you're online spurging about the Jews or this or that or whatever the fuck. But when you put it in perspective and you have the full picture in front of you, you kind of like, this shit kind of makes sense, man. I can understand.
Yeah.
It's reasonable. And like I said,
yeah.
When the time comes, you're going to have to play along. You might have to wear a swastika, or you might have to, all of a sudden, play along with like the angels coming back or the silver orb in the sky or whatever.
Shit.
It's the same thing with Santa Claus.
Yeah. Yeah. Would you bend the knee to the Islamists?
Fuck no.
I know I keep going back to that, but
that's why
that's a real threat.
The one thing I keep reminding Americans is do not trust these cunts. They'll say all sorts like, oh yeah, Jesus is one of our prophets as well, and all this kind of shit. Nah, man.
No.
Ain't fucking happening. Any cunt that's not going to assimilate and fucking put America first, good luck. Good fucking luck to you. You know what I mean? Like I said, the plan's already in place. This shit, they already know who they're dealing with these cunts. And like I said, the whole open borders and all this kind of shit, they'll all be going to Ukraine.
To get I don't guess it's a pew-pew out of a drone, but you know what I mean.
Yep.
I guess you have to ask now how we get here.
How did we
get here?
It's a cycle, right? You look back to like how Rome fell. All of a sudden, everyone was Roman. You know what I mean? You didn't have to fight any battles. You didn't have to do anything to become Roman. You were one of us and all this kind of shit. There was PDA of all sorts. There was the man boy lovers and all this kind of shit. And Rome fell. And that's why when you look at like what we all know that Nazi Germany was the Third Reich. What was the First Reich?
Good question. What
The
was
Holy
it?
Roman Empire.
And it counted itself out. Like I said,
You know what I mean?
when they got so wealthy and so comfortable, they had to take it a step further with the stuff. And I did them.
Well, that's what they say a lot. Like, you know, Adolf was he was too ambitious. He was like, no, I want to be the I want to take out my frustrations on the Jews and all this kind of shit. And like I keep trying to tell people, like the Jews are the managers, the Christians are the workers. You know what I mean? So it's like that whole thing that whereas they try to get you to go after the Jews and all that kind of shit. The Jews are just the managers. The National Socialists are the owners.
Yeah, the Jewish people just it's a good.
And this is why I ask people, right? Take out the camps and the genocide and all that kind of shit, right?
Right.
With the philosophy behind National Socialism, can you explain to me like why just the philosophy itself is evil?
I can't explain it.
Because even in a tribe, like when you think about like how you treat your family, like everyone's socialist with their family. You know what I mean? If your kid needs some money, yeah, sure, go ahead. You're not going to fucking charge them interest on a few bob for the weekend and all this kind of shit. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, yeah.
And if you employ that attitude towards a nation and you have a strong nation and a national identity, there's nothing morally wrong with that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're trying to put it to where you want it. Whatever. Bring it in line. Or whatever you're trying to do. Yeah.
But didn't I tell you it was going to be a crazy talk?
Yeah. I like it though. I am tired, but I do like it.
This is why
I'm just running late today, but that's why I'm just tired. But I'm probably along with you more than you ever know.
This is why I tell you, is like, especially in modern day, or like, you know, like as we kind of get into, you know, the next couple of years. That's why I have to do the whole Loki thing. I have to, you know, do the whole like illusion thing and all this kind of shit. But like, trust me, I ain't a fucking lefty. I ain't supporting none of that shit. And like I've always said, like, fuck these atheists, man. They're arrogant, ignorant cunts.
Yeah. Yeah. It took me a minute to figure it out what you were doing, talking about. Like I say, the last 2 or 3 years. I remember. I think we was on a panel. It was BK, and you would do that. Make America Great Again or USA. So damn, he's more patriotic than most Americans. I did. So, damn, that's wild.
And like I said, it's one of those things where, like, I've made mistakes and I've kind of like only had half the picture, and then I came to a certain conclusion, and then I see the other half, and I'm like, oh fuck, I made a mistake there, and all this kind of shit. Like, I'm not infallible, but when you look at things in the big picture,
you realized it. You made a mistake.
Yeah.
If you fix it, you know you did. So hell.
And this is why I say, like, your ego is your greatest enemy, because like the only thing preventing you from holding your hand up and say, listen, I fucking called this wrong, I apologize and all this kind of shit, or, you conceding in a debate and all this kind of shit. The only thing preventing you from doing that is your ego. So at the end of the day, if you're a reasonable person and you're out for reason, you're out for truth, like, fuck your ego, man. I'd rather have the reason. I'd rather have the truth.
Because your ego can destroy you. I mean, completely. For real. Most people don't learn that until it's too late.
Agree with that?
Yeah. I'm probably one of them. I didn't wait too late. I learned it a long time ago, really. Tareyak.
But we all make that mistake.
Put your pride to the side, you know. That's what that was my saying. Put your pride to the side. Just let it roll off, maybe like, water rolls off a duck. It'll be okay. Then it'll give you, instead of going off and doing something crazy at that time, you can think about it. Get a good plan, get a good answer, whatever. You know what I mean? Just figure it out.
100%.
Yeah. Figure it out before you act on it. But if you figure it out and it don't look too damn good, you got to act on it. You got to do something.
But like I even seen it in chat as well, like a lot of people that were like, "Oh fuck," like Trailer Trash or Thrash music was saying, it's like, "Oh shit," like that video broke my brain and all this kind of shit. It's like,
oh yeah,
this is why like disclosure is such. It's been constantly like pushed back and all this kind of thing. But this is why why like I kind of waited like for a conversation like this to kind of say, okay, this is what's actually going on. Take some time to digest it, get comfortable with it, come to peace with it and all this kind of shit. But when you look at like what who the enemy is, like who the true enemy is, you know what I mean? It's like I said, putting it in perspective, like all you have to do is like look at what they were saying. And like I said, I've tried to have these conversations and I'm told, well, they just disagree with you. And I'm looking at them as if they got two heads. I'm like, bro, I'm showing you footage of a crowd chanting, Charlie Kirk shot in neck. British Nazis will be next. They think that Charlie was a Nazi. So what the fuck are they going to do to you? The fuck are they going to do to Andrew?
I'd mess Andrew up. Yeah,
you know what I mean?
For sure. Yeah.
You want a nuclear family. You're a bigot.
Yeah, they'd probably call me a bigot for sure. I know they would, Andrew. They called him whatever they needed to do what, I guess fix it up in their mind to be fixing something. And they wouldn't.
You look at the cunt that went after Trump in the most recent assassination attempt.
Hell, I'll tell you, I don't even, there's been so many that it's getting crazy. It's getting crazy.
And this
one,
is
how they're getting to him, how they getting that close to him. I mean, fuck.
But like, this is the thing. And like, this will kind of come up a little bit with the debate I have tomorrow against Lutch over on Speakeasy. Shout out to my boy Speakeasy.
Yeah, sure.
Where like the city of London and like I was kind of explaining like the British imperial system and like how they go about their business, oh, like there's mineral resources in Timbuktu and all of a sudden a civil war breaks out and like city of London's funding both sides, all this kind of shit. Essentially, actually I have the video here that'll kind of explain, you know what I mean? And like I said, like Trump's in on the game, so to speak, because you can't tell me the game is rigged and then you miraculously, get in the second term and all this kind of shit without being in on it and all this kind of shit. But here's the whole kind of like the whole king's, like the king's visit and all this kind of stuff. Oh wait, shit, I need to make sure I do. So I need you to share it on your side and then yeah, perfect. And then I do on this side, share it. Yeah. So you Yep. Right, so
And Elliott says FDR conditioned America's entry into World War II on ending the empire's colonial system after the war. He called that system backward and mired in the 18th century. Here's how FDR described those 18th century methods to Churchill as set forth in Elliott Roosevelt's book, As He Saw It. Whichever of your ministers recommends a policy which takes raw materials out of a colonial country, but which returns nothing to the people of that country in consideration. 20th century methods involve bringing industries to these countries. 20th century methods include increasing the wealth of a people by the standard of living, by educating them, by bringing them sanitation. I can't believe that we can fight a war against fascist slavery and at the same time not work to free people all over the world from a backward colonial policy. Then there were the beehives. In ancient British and Scottish tradition, especially among royal and rural families, you must formally tell the bees of any major change in the household, a death, a marriage, and most importantly, a new master in the house. Fail to do so, and the hive may abandon you. The British royals practiced this faithfully. Trump took the king to the White House hives to show him America is the new master. Then Charles went to Congress, where the empire still exercised a great degree of control and made not so subtle attacks on the president. In his speech, the king dropped the line that, quote, the Magna Carta is cited in at least 160 Supreme Court cases since 1789, not least as the foundation of the principle that executive power is subject to checks and balances. That earned him whoops and a standing ovation in the Congress. It was a subtle attack on Trump. He claimed our revolution came from the Enlightenment when it was, in reality, based on the Renaissance and the writings of Gottfried Leibniz. He praised Henry Kissinger, the man who declared himself a British agent in a 1982 speech at Chatham House. Then he claimed NATO was vital for the righteous cause of Ukraine and to prevent disaster from melting polar ice caps. He ended with his typical environmental devotional to nature, giving that religion the same space in his speech as his alleged Christianity. Given the new reality Trump has spent the last year creating in the world, I have no doubt that he graciously told King Charles to get on board with the new American century or suffer the consequences. Now, if you're beginning to realize that the world works a little bit differently than what you're seeing or have been told.
And that's basically the main part that I wanted to show. So one sec, let me just make sure I reshare on this side. Then we can X out of that one. So, oh my God. Please be patient. Please be patient. My mom took down. Okay, I exited the wrong tab. But the reason why I show you that is that whole ceremony with the bees and all this kind of stuff. It's no coinky dink that, like, just before the royalty showed up, there's an assassination attempt. That should tell you who was behind the assassination attempts on Trump. It was the City of London, the Crown, essentially. And the reason why they do that is because they want to be the ones that just do the British imperial system. We just do the Civil War and then take the resources, all this kind of shit. Whereas, as they were kind of explaining at the start of that, like the whole American idea is that no, like there's certain, like you want to like be able to prop up like the industry and like industrialize and all this kind of stuff because you want to help out these people, but then they're not coming to your country because you basically ruined the place and all this kind of shit. And Trump doing the whole beehive thing, that goes back to ancient Celtic traditions, like how they would like transition power and all this kind of shit between like the Celtics and like the Anglos and all this kind of shit, is basically the whole like beehives, the colonies. Think of like the colonies and the British Commonwealth and all this kind of stuff. Basically, Trump saying it's like, look at me, I'm fucking in charge now. Like America's back in charge. We're not doing this shit where we're just like playing second in command to England. Yous are now following our lead. Trump, like I said, has the whole situation locked down in Iran. 2 hours, Maduro was out in Venezuela. The issue just hit them with the EMP and then like lights out, lock and load, baby. So in terms of what I think the play moving forward is, it's like they either take the silver or they take the bullet. Like in terms of like we can help you out, and like depending on what your culture's like, we might let you industrialize and all this kind of shit. But if you're not playing ball, then we're going to do the British way, where it's we deindustrialize you. You're going to be civil war, and then whoever gets the power, we're going to put in all these climate change policies and have you believe in that, like too much carbon, the carbon tax, and basically destroy your make sure your economy will never get to a certain degree that will actually be a threat to America, and that's how America is going to move going forward, essentially.
Well, adds up for us.
And like I tried, I basically explained, and I know I understand for a lot of people, like this shit's very heavy. There's a lot of uncomfortable truths that I went through and all this kind of shit, but trust me, this was necessary. This was the best path forward. And like I said, in terms of like going forward, like we seen with the other video, the retard problem is going to be solved. The Islamist problem is going to be solved. It's like that was kind of like one thing that like everybody would always go to me. It's like, Tareyak, why are you so interested in American politics? Because like I've listened to the clowns in my country that like and all this kind of shit, and even the people that were saying, well, when we get our nationalist government, like we'll be able to show the world. Like, what the fuck is our? We don't even have a fucking military to speak of. You know what I mean? You having the fucking chance to stand up to Britain, let alone to fucking America and all this kind of shit. We're not going to dictate shit to the world. Our government is managed by Europe, which was getting its orders from the Crown, but is now getting its orders from America. And as Donald Trump, like I said, like Donald Trump, like was, he's pointed to certain things going on in Ireland, but when you look at like the people around him and what way they were kind of like sharing posts about the fuel protests, sharing certain stories in Ireland, all this kind of stuff. Like I said, it's going to be a downward economic turn. Things are going to look dark in Europe and all this kind of shit, but the right kind of people are going to be rewarded because they're critical thinkers, because they're reasonable people. You know what I mean? So, like I said, like, you know, do you know the meme, like the Seinfeld meme? It's like the red room, and Seinfeld walks in. He's like, "What's going on?" And Jerry goes like, "What's going on?" And then the other dude like goes back to him like, "The adults are back in charge, Jerry." Like that's basically the whole thing. Like the adults are back in charge, and like I said, like moving forward and all this kind of shit, like you're gonna hear all sorts of like crazy shit going on, all this kind of stuff. But fundamentally, there was no other way. And like I said, like National Socialism, like I can live in National Socialism, you know. Like I'm already getting taxed 30% by my government, and then another 30% by YouTube, and then another 30% by Apple. You know what I mean? So clearly, it's at least livable, you know.
So that sucks, though.
But
you kind of knew YouTube, but that's up front. But then Apple jumps on that bandwagon.
Bro, that's
I don't even know how it's legal.
But that's why I do the whole Ko-Fi thing, where it's like I try to incentivize the Ko-Fi as much as possible.
Yeah.
And like I said, like shout outs to the people that do use the PayPal and the Ko-Fi links, because at least then I'm only getting 30% off the government. But like I said, it's not just like I'm using that as an example, like as a personal example, but across the board, like anybody working an average job, if you're getting paid in and around what the GDP is, you're paying roughly about 30% tax, not including the VAT and the hidden tax and all this kind of shit. But up front, you're getting about 30% or a third of your wage is going to the government, and nobody's there out in the streets rebelling or tossing the tea, the tea in the river and all this kind of shit.
Yeah.
So when you look at it in the grand scheme of things, it's a model that can actually work. And like I said, for decades, it's been tested and tweaked and all this kind of stuff behind the scenes. And like I said, disclosure, but we'll see what way disclosure comes and all this kind of stuff. But it'll be pretty similar to this stream if you but like I said, I'm basically kind of giving you like the launch ahead of time to show you, listen, I'm not some fucking crazy lefty. I'm not an atheist or none of that kind of shit. I'm on your side. You know what I mean? But like I said, like I'm basically here to kind of give you the truth ahead of time, so you have like that extra bit of time to digest and not fucking, do the whole black pill thing and become a nihilist and all that kind of shit. Because
when you give the truth about yourself, too, I mean, to erase any of that crazy shit.
Sorry?
The people were thinking. Yeah.
Oh yeah. But like I said, like I'm kind of like I'm a weird kind of character where like I don't really give a fuck. Like I could be getting all sorts written about me in the newspapers. Like, oh, he's a fucking far right Nazi and all this kind of shit. I wouldn't give a bollocks. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Right. You gotta do what's right.
100%. And like I said, like reason will prevail. You know.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, the main thing that I've seen is, here's the fucked up thing. Like a lot of people think, oh, it's a left and right wing thing. Like this is why I keep pointing out to like the Tucker Carlsons, the Candace Owens, and all this kind of shit. Like there's plenty of fucking retards on the right wing that like, oh, Trump's a traitor and all this kind of thing.
Yeah. Turned on
That's, you know what I mean? And it's all conspiracy theory. Like that's why like Andrew Wilson is literally a godsend, because he's the main kind of prominent right wing figure. Is like, where is the evidence that Trump is a PDF? Because I can point to you the fuckers that are talking about minor attracted people, and that doesn't outrage us. But the Epstein files, and that's another thing where it's like you have like
Fucking
British
power.
people talking about Epstein and Trump and all this kind of shit, and it's like, yeah, but what's going on in your country? En masse.
Right.
And there's no outrage, and there's, oh, it's just a difference of opinion. We got to respect religion. I don't want to be called an Islamophobe. You know what I mean? Retards.
But yeah. But they really are. Really are.
And this is why I say like I don't mind the people who are like, listen, fucking the critical thinking, like I don't have time to be fucking like spending all day long thinking about shit and trying to reason out shit and trying to look at the big picture and all this kind of stuff. I understand that perspective, but if that's going to be your thing, that's why I say to people, like as a non-Christian, I say, listen, Christianity's the way, especially like Orthodox, because they're like, Orthodox is like, they're the reasonable Christians. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Then you have the Roman Catholics where
It took me a minute to think about that, when I didn't know about, like I was telling you earlier, when Andrew would just he made me mad. More than pissed me off. Yeah. Yeah, I believe it is. The Orthodox, that's the way to go.
that's why I say, like, in terms of the whole like sheep and all that kind of stuff. If you want to be a sheep, it's your choice. I understand, like it's a law. Like I said, like I've even seen like people in chat and I'm like, holy shit, this is breaking my mind. This is too heavy and all this kind of shit. I understand, but like I said, follow the Christians. Don't follow these fucking whack jobs, these fucking atheists and all this kind of shit. And that's basically been my main thing that I've tried to do since I've kind of set myself in this course, is like just try to save as much as you can and don't waste time with people who are, like I said, like people who are too far gone, people who are not going to respect the reason,
Yeah. No matter what you do or tell them. Just won't. Impossible.
Like like I said, like I've had these conversations where I've sat them down and I've outlined it. You can go back through my debates, what you call it, trans ideology is homophobic was one debate. Those were two lefties. You go back to the Rob Noor debate, like that's me basically like making sure I don't end up on the front lines. So it's 100% clear. You can't trust this cunt. He wants Russia to take over the EU. Oh, well, it is what it is, folks. Now I might have to fucking sit a year or two in prison for it or whatever the fuck they'll do to me. But it is what it is. Do you know what I mean? I'm not going to end up on the front lines.
Yeah.
The like I said, like if like hopefully, like I said, anybody who watches this, a lot of shit will then click into place and it should make sense in terms of the gambit that I've been trying to play in terms of like I said, like speaking to people and kind of saying, listen, like I'm not a Christian, but if you are a sheep, just follow the Christians, follow the Orthodox Christians, because they'll keep you safe.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. For sure. If you're following 100%, yeah, do that. Follow them. You'll be all right. Right?
100%.
Instead of following the others. Instead of following the others. And they may be very tempting to follow them. Very tempting.
Oh man, like that's why I'm doing the whole deductionist thing to call out this false fucking empathy and like oh my, like the last deductionist last week that I done it, like I was going crazy where it's like, how did these detectives sit in these rooms and not call out like these fake tears and this fucking soap opera fucking style acting where it's like, oh my god, I can't believe my wife's dead. It's like, oh, can you not? Because I'm pretty sure you're the one that fucking killed her. You psychopathic cunt. You know what I mean? But like I said, hopefully we'll be able to kind of like I said, kind of expose out like the whole kind of like the fake thing, because like this whole thing of like empathy for the criminal is is injustice for the victim. You know what I mean? That's what's been going on. That's the whole kind of like MO with this shit. Like I said,
like they break in your home and you go to jail because they broke in. Crazy.
Bro, that's what it's like in Ireland. If a cunt breaks into my house, and like there was one case actually was quite famous. There was a guy trying to break into someone's house, and he was on the roof. He slipped and he fell off. And he got badly injured. I don't know what he broke, but he broke something, all this kind of stuff. And he sued the homeowner, and he won the case, even though he was there to try and break into the house.
It's crazy. Fucking
yeah,
crazy.
Man. It's time we start fucking ply reason again. I'm finished with this whole men can become women and fucking pride parade flags where dudes are fucking doing all sorts in front of children, all this, the minor attracted people bullshit and all this kind of thing. The only pedophile that doesn't reoffend is a dead pedophile. Like that shouldn't be a controversial statement.
No, it shouldn't.
I
understand is they can't be what do you call it? They'll never get better.
Yeah. And this is the way we're going along, where it's like, oh, I was born this way. The only reason why you'd make that argument is if down the line you wanted to make the argument that PDFs, oh, they were born that way. You know what I mean? Fuck that.
What was that?
Was that on your side?
I heard it. I don't even know what it was.
Wait, do you have any dogs?
She's asleep.
Say just double check just to be safe.
Yeah. One sec.
Yeah, no worries, no worries.
Right over to the other room. No, that's somebody doing it on the microphone. How's that happening? That come out of my computer, Tareyak.
What the fuck?
That is crazy. Wait a minute. Oh, wait a minute. Discord. And I might be at I might be in JS's. Yeah, guess who?
Motherfucker.
Guess who? Avarice. I put money on it.
That motherfucker.
Yeah, JS's Discord. I was in there just hanging out from yesterday. The moon debate thing. Yeah. Avarice. He did it. Brick.
You gotta love him though. You gotta love him. He's a good troll.
Yeah. Damn, he's getting really good at it too. And liking it.
And that's like that's another thing as well. Like it's gonna be like I think we're kind of crossing the Rubicon at that stage where it's like there's not going to be any more of these debates where you try to sit down and you try to reason out with these cunts on this kind of shit. It's literally just going to send Avarice in, and it's just going to be just troll these cunts because that's all they deserve. Like the likes of the Destinies, the Voshes, the Sands, just fucking troll them, fucking make them rage out, chimp out, and all this kind of shit. Because like I keep trying to explain, there's no reasoning with an unreasonable person.
No. You'll drive yourself crazy trying to do that. He would frick. I won't get him. Sorry. He's sending me messages now. I won't get him.
I'm gonna get you, boy.
I'm gonna get you, boy. Yeah, I bet you are. He said he's dying over there, laughing right now. What should we do to him? Ukraine?
I'm sure we'll find other ways to troll him back, all this kind of shit. But it's all in good spirit as well, because like I said, man, he's one of the good ones.
Yes,
But yeah, do you have any more questions before we head away?
No, I would. I said my brain's just like I said, I'm really tired. I'm on day 3, I think. Been awake. But I would like possibly to maybe do another short one, long one, whatever you want to do. But when I am like me,
100%
awake, yeah. I think it. Like I said, in this community, hell, I pay attention to people a lot. I listen to a lot more than I talk most of the time, and I did hear things, nothing bad, but yeah, I think you just cleared them all up. If that makes sense at all. Not you. You wasn't even. I know you. I got to know you. So yeah.
Mission accomplished, as they say.
Yeah, I think so. For this one, next time I might solve a murder or something, you know.
Hell yeah, brother.
And tie in the whole freaking all governments or something.
Well, yeah, I mean, like that's the thing as well. Like the more and more I kind of like dig down into it myself and all this kind of shit, the finer the picture becomes. But I'm at that kind of stage now where I can kind of see the picture for what it is and see where everything's kind of going. And like I said, in terms of like I'd say probably the main thing that I'm focused now is just to prevent people like the people who get like dissuaded by the likes of Candace Owen, Tucker Carlson, all this kind of stuff that like will like blackpilling is probably one of the things that I think I'll probably focus a good bit of my attention on trying to get rid of, because that's what I'm seeing on the right wing now, where people are kind of getting disillusioned with Trump and buying into a lot of this shit and all this kind of stuff. But exposing the likes of Tucker and Candace and kind of saying, listen, lads, you shouldn't be listening to these people because they're literally lying to your faces. And like I said, the clips are already starting to come out about that as well. But I'm very much in the same. Yeah, go ahead.
I never thought Tucker would do anything bad towards him. I thought he would be just in there, don't say anything or say something good about him. Trump. I don't know what got into Tucker. It blows my mind. Candace, not so much. She was one of the first people I really started watching on YouTube. She would do it. You might remember it too. She would do it in like a bedroom or something and just be, sharing her thoughts, opinions about stuff. And I thought she was really, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, based. And I liked her. I enjoyed it.
But I mean, like, that's the thing as well. Like, you need to make sure that you kind of identify like who's actually being nefarious and then who's just been led astray. And even looking at like Candace Owens' perspective, like when you're fed, if you get one of these contacts and they're, for example, like giving you the Macron's wife is actually a dude, there's a lot of evidence that actually supports that. The making a murderer thing is another thing as well, where she basically does a whole documentary where she outlines this is actually the truth and all this kind of stuff. You kept getting fed like all this stuff and it's just pure gold and everyone's hitting and all this kind of stuff, and then all of a sudden they have you on a leash. It's the same thing with a drug dealer. They start giving you all the good shit and then they start giving you the stepped on shit, or start you with the green and next thing you know you're on heroin and all this kind of shit. This is why, like
and you're going to be really pissed when you figure out what they did. You're going to be really pissed. and you might want to do some of that.
This is the thing where, like I said, it's you have to be able to work things out for yourself if you're going to be in this game. If you're going to play this game, you have to be able to have reason and critical thought, because if you're kind of one of these people that like are clout hungry or you're money hungry, which again, like that's the kind of the say like the motifs that I could say that like Candace or Tucker could have been captured by. Tucker just got paid off like by, let's say, Qatar or a certain whatever group or whatever. He's already in too much now. He's already been paid too much. The next thing you know, it's not it's not money, it's blood. Or in Candace's situation, those lights are bright and all of a sudden they can blind you. You know what I mean?
I believe she likes the fame, don't you?
Yep.
Candace, yeah, for sure.
And it was like what Kevin Samuels told us, the need to be right. Like that's a woman's downfall. It's the
over everything else.
It's always your ego. Always your ego.
Yeah. Put it away. Put the pride to the damn side for a minute. Put it away. Then take a look. You might say something completely different. You will. You will say something completely different. Ain't no might. Well, Tareyak, I appreciate it, sir. I thank you. Like I say, I know I wasn't much talking, but I'd like to do it again and make it up. And you, thanks for the videos.
Hey, my pleasure, man. My pleasure. And again, appreciate you putting this together. And like I said, wish you all the best. It seems like a good series as well. Like I said, just sitting down, having a couple of smokes and just fucking kicking it back,
Yeah, probably had 2 fucking packs. I don't know. A lot. That's okay.
It's like the True Detective meme with Matthew McConaughey, where he's like literally just like eyes are blared and just like sucking the cigarettes. Like, wait, you're telling me that this is the plan? What the fuck is going? Wait, the fucking Nazis won the what? What the? But
it's good.
Like I said, man, it's uncomfortable truths, but it needs to be spoke about eventually. Because
well, maybe that's where the things like this you keep talking, and maybe people put the pride down a minute and take a look. Say, wait, just a damn minute. What's going on? What's the real deal? That's what they need to look for.
100%.
And analyze every little piece of it. For sure.
Just like Sherlock Holmes, put the puzzle together, and eventually the answer will be staring you in the face.
The one Sherlock Holmes at the movie, of course. What's his name?
Robert Downey Jr.
He's really good. Yeah. I like that one. Yeah. A lot.
And it's interesting. The second movie that was released of that one, a lot of shit that's playing out now. If you go back and watch that, and you kind of like juxtapose like the characters, Robert Downey Jr. being the American, Jude Law being the British, and then it's France and Germany at each other's necks. The anarchists are well blown up, and it's actually the anarchists are being used. And Moriarty, again, a British dude who's playing both sides, and he has that whole speech at the end where it's like, deep within the unconscious, there's an insatiable desire for conflict. You know what I mean? All I'm doing is sitting back and profiting off the bullets and the bandages. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for real.
And how industry and war. If you want like because like there's the British or the BBC version of Sherlock. That to me is not as good as the Granada version. And the best thing about that is that's all on YouTube now. So if you want to go back, and I think it was back in like the late 80s when that started coming out. But if you type in Sherlock Holmes, Jeremy Brett, there should be a playlist. It's like 41 episodes of the playlist. It's like the full series is all on YouTube. You want to go check that out. I think that's probably the best version of Sherlock Holmes if you want it as true to the original stories as possible. And also I think like Jeremy Brett's probably the best like portrayal of the Sherlock Holmes character. When you look at the Sherlock movies, what's actually being said about that is this whole thing between like the power struggle between Britain or the Crown and America. And like I said, the second movie as well is kind of like talking about like there's like the what's actually being said rather than the actual thing being in front of it as well. But like I said, been an absolute pleasure, Crazy. And like I said, wishing you all the best with this series in the future. And again, thanks for having me on.
Oh, you're welcome. And I'm going to try to get some more and make it better. Or
100%,
just try to make it work. You know what I mean? Like you say, so yeah. All right, man. I will see you later.
Take it easy, Crazy.
Have a good one.
Oh shit. I always exit out too quick. But folks, hopefully you had a great show. Like I said, I know I didn't give you any warning. And like I said, we went into a lot of the uncomfortable truths, difficult stuff to swallow, but this is why I'm giving you the head start before all of a sudden you start seeing some weird lights in the sky and they're telling you all sorts of shit and all this kind of stuff. Like I said, the truth is all in this show. If you want to go back and rewatch it, fuck it, we'll watch the video one more time. This is what basically the plan is. Okay? One sec, where is it? Let me find it. We'll watch it before we go back. Because I'm going to be doing a study session. I'm only going to be doing like 2 or 3 hours of the study session just to take us through the basics and how I kind of like self-teach myself a lot of this shit. And like I said, spoiler alert, it's basically like AI. Just a bit of curiosity and effort goes a long way in terms of like, especially with the AI, and where like I disagree with a lot of people who says, oh, AI is all terrible shit and all this kind of stuff. Nah, like AI is actually like technology is humanity. You know what I mean? And if you're willing to learn, AI can teach you a fucking surprising amount of shit. And like I said, you never want to be taking it as gospel. You never want to be taking it as truth. But anybody who's just joined and they're wondering what the fuck is going on, like what's the plan, or like how are we going to get ourselves out of this shit situation and all this kind of thing. Where is it? There it is. So basically, like I said, anybody who's wondering, oh, what the fuck are we going to do about like these anarchists or these communists, and what are we going to do about these Islamists, and what ways Europe going to shape out and all this kind of shit. This is essentially what's going to happen. Okay, so you're getting the sneak peek now. There's going to be some words that are mentioned that might make you uncomfortable, but just fucking make your peace with it. You know what I mean? Accept it, like find the actual reasoning to it and all this kind of shit. And like I said, you'll be grand. Don't fucking black pill. Trust me. This is the only way. This is the necessity. This is the only way forward.
Hello, everyone. It is Sunday, the 31st of August, and we are about to enter a very, very frightening period. And I says I would do this video to try and, I suppose, not even waking up, because it's too late to waking up now, but to congratulate a certain group on a tremendous victory. And yeah, we'll see where the cards fall. So I'm going to give you a good little video now on what I have come to know, what they might refer to as hidden. So the first thing is, in the 90s, you would have heard a statement, the nerds will inherit the earth. Now, you all thought that was some guy who had his trousers pulled up under his arms and a pair of funny glasses, kind of was pulling out of an inhaler, and he read too many books and all that. Well, that wasn't a nerd. Nerd was N-E-R-D, which is Nazis, eugenicists, racists, and deindustrialists. That's what the anagram stood for. So I'll take you back to World War II. It was before World War II that this was initiated, but that's for me to know and ye to find out. But what ye would be told in school in relation to World War II is that Germany, the Nazi party, lost that war. That is ludicrous. They did not lose the war. Far before the war started, and during the war, the greatest minds of the Nazi side were being recruited by the American military to be brought to America after the war. Some of the figureheads who would not have been the intelligentsia, but they were willing to follow the orders, were transported to Argentina during the war. In all essence, the Nazis didn't lose the war. They simply moved. And a lot of them didn't move. A lot of them were based in America all through the war and during the war. And you can look all of that up if you want to. Personally, it doesn't bother me. But Nazism and eugenics go hand in hand. And what has occurred in the past 10 to 20 years especially can only be described two ways, depending on how you look at it. Evil or beautiful, depending on how.
Now again, bear in mind, evil and beautiful, depending on your perspective, depending on what way you look at it. Especially the way Jack says, I'm sick and tired of all this degenerate shit. Okay? So like I keep mentioning to you, we have a retard problem. A lot of people point out the Islamicists, and you're right about the Islamicists, but that's only half the fucking equation. We also have a bunch of retards that think fucking men can become women, that fucking minor attracted people is just a preference, postmodernists, atheists, fucking retards. You can't deport retards. Where do we put the retards?
You look at it. But what it does is it assures a sequence of events where a class of white Western people will continue to lord over society for the future. Mightn't look like that at the moment, but that's the end point. So, religion. There are three main religions now in the Western world. Judaism, which will be the religion of those who run things. Christendom, which will be the religion of those kind of in the middle class. And then Islam, which will be the religion of the kind of useful workers, do what they're told when they're told, cause havoc when necessary. These three.
So the whole like Abrahamic Accords, they can all Abraham religion, we all rally behind Abraham. So the Nazis, so he mentioned the nerds will inherit the earth. You'll either hear like the nerds will inherit the earth or the geeks will inherit the earth. Nerd means Nazi, eugenicist, racist, and deindustrialist, or geeks, which is globalist, eugenicist, ethnocentrist, and kleptocrat. Basically the same thing, talking about the same kind of mentality these people have. And again, these are the reasonable people. The unreasonable people are doing the whole my preferences, minor attracted people, trans surgery, which is child abuse, and sterilizing the gays, and you know what I mean? So bear that in
Three
mind.
religions will come under the one umbrella.
Oh, and by the way, like the Nazis will basically be the owners, Jews will be the managers, the Christians will be the workers, and the Islamists will be the scapegoats and the muscle, and when you need to get violent things done, etc., etc.
After the event. Yeah, so Judaism, the premise of Judaism is that they are God's chosen people, that the rest of humanity is a slave class under them, and that they will be at the top and they will accumulate the vast majority of the wealth, and they will have a slave class to provide for them, which is actually pretty bang on what's going on at the moment. Christendom is where you get to heaven by, oh, how would you say it, being a nice guy. Do you know, do what you're told when you're told, work hard, don't raise too many eyebrows, all the rest of it, and you will get to heaven one day. Islam is a little bit different. Islam is not only can you be a nice guy, but you must act to guarantee your entry to the next realm. You must act in a jihadi fashion. So you can see how they're about to be used. But anyways, you're all probably wondering about this mass migration to Europe. So this is for all the lefties that are watching, because I actually don't hate you. I feel really sorry for you. I think you are entirely the victims of eugenics. So what has happened with this mass migration is there's an introduction of a new race to raise tensions. There'll be a little bit of an aggro between the native population and the newcoming population. But here's the kicker for it. Conscription. So conscription across Europe for the European army will start with the native population. This is to rise tensions. Now, the bit that they're not mentioning, but it's very easily provable. If you have shown any right-wing thinking, you will not be conscripted. They will not conscript you under the guise that they will say it could be troublesome to have someone with a right-wing ideology in the army. The truth of the matter is this is a cull.
So again, this whole thing of like this war in Ukraine, pretty good way to just send all these retards off and all these Islamists that we need to deport. You know what I mean? They'll be put on planes, and those planes will land down in Ukraine, and all these cunts will go to the front line. If someone like me and then anyone else that would have far right tendencies, oh, you're too dangerous to put on the front lines. Especially, you know, let's say you had a 4-hour debate against Rob Noor, where you were saying that Russia should take over the EU. Oh, we can't trust you on the front lines. You'll fucking defect.
So all of the remaining lefties who have little boys and girls coming around 16 to 18 years of age, your ideology is going to guarantee that your child lands to the front line in the first wave. Second wave will be the undesirable of the new population coming in. So they'll go through that with a fine-tooth comb. They'll see who's actually qualified, who actually is educated, all the rest of it. And anyone that doesn't mean those terms will be given a choice. And the choice that will be given will be join the army, and after so many years of service, you will receive citizenship, which will never happen because of drone warfare and stuff like that. So, yeah, that's the call. Very plain and simple. So that's a little bit of the Nazi, a little bit of the eugenicist. We get into the racism. Racists survive because what they do is they group together in their own people. They're clannish. They keep the assets of that group of people to themselves. They survive. And then the deindustrialists. That is the control group. That is people who step away from society, go back to barter, go back to self-sufficiency, all the rest of it. And they'll be allowed to continue because this more technically advanced society needs a control group where they're like, oh, we have to have humanity behaving as it did historically. So your groups like Amish, Mennonites, your religious zealots that head off into the woods and do the compound and all that, they will be left alone. They'll be allowed to develop. So yeah, the nerds will inherit the earth. The frightening aspect that probably an awful lot of you don't realize is that politicians for the past 10 or 20 years have all had the one ideology, which was Darwinism. We have removed how stupid people are meant to die. We've removed it. Safety rails, insulation, all of these things have allowed stupid people to live and breed. And that's undesirable from the nerds' standpoint. It goes further than that too. They're dead set against homosexuality. They realized a very long time ago that there are a lot of people who have homosexual tendencies, but because society was so kind of religion-based, that they kept these desires underground. There were plenty of gay men who were married with children. There were plenty of lesbian women who were married with children. They kept these desires down. Now, by making society an open place for homosexuals and lesbians to carry on their deeds and all the rest of it, they come out into the open where they can be easily identified, where they can be manipulated by certain groups who sponsor things like perhaps chemicals that could be ingested into the body and used to assure that they would never breed again.
Also known as trans ideology.
This is not an easy thing for me to say. There are winners and losers out of this. There are people who identified it, who had a critical mind, who haven't gone with government policy over the last 10 or 20 years, who haven't built up massive amounts of debt, who have ownership of their assets, who have moved assets away from currencies like the euro, dollar, etc., which are inflating so quickly that they will soon be worthless. They have their assets in things like gold, silver, certain cryptocurrencies, land, real estate, all the rest of it, stuff that will survive this hyperinflationary period. But I am coming to the conclusion that this, although evil,
is a beautiful solution to the problems that we see in modern day, folks. I'm going to be raiding over to the new stream. We're going to be doing a bit of a study session. I need to go get a piss. Grab some water, maybe a coffee as well. So I'll see yous over there. I ain't even hearing the words, I'm just hearing the accents. Sure, you know yourself, hey. You know yourself, that wee little Irish accent. Tell you. It's a good one, boy. I fucking tell you, Shanty. But anyways, I'll see yous in a bit. Like I said, if yous don't automatically raid over, yous know where to click and yous know what to do. I'll see you in a little bit, ladies and gentlemen.
Why wouldn't you dedicate yourself to public service?
Because I think it's a very mean life. I would love and I would dedicate my life to this country, but I see it as being a mean life, and I also see it as somebody with strong views and somebody with the kind of views that are maybe a little bit unpopular, which may be right, but may be unpopular.
I am your voice. So to every parent who dreams for their child and every child who dreams for their future, I say these words to you tonight. I am with you, I will fight for you, and I will win for you. We will make America strong again. We will make America safe again. And we